Hey everyone, so today's another pretty big day at the expo. Today we have Anvil, so there should be some pretty cool ships to try out in-game today, and a pretty wide variety of things on sale. Alright, so starting off in the main hall, we've got a pretty good view here with the Carrack front and center. And then you can see the overall layout here. So Anvil only has 2 halls, and there's actually not any hollows, which is kind of strange, but I guess the only thing that they really have that is in the works is the Crucible. So with that not really being worked on yet, there's not much for them to be showing off in a hollow viewer. Alright, so on the left of the main hall here, we have the benchmark light fighter. This is the Anvil Arrow. It's very maneuverable, has quite a lot of firepower, doesn't have the best shielding, but it's very small and hard to hit, so most of the time that's not a big deal. So yeah, definitely a fun one to fly around. Alright, and then behind the Arrow on the left here, we have the Gladiator. So the Gladiator, I believe, is the smallest bomber in the game, but it still packs a bit of a punch with these size 5 torpedoes, which you can see it carries 4 of. It has a reasonable amount of pilot firepower, but it also has a turret that can be useful to protect the Gladiator from other fighters, since this thing is a little bit slow, even though it is somewhat small. Torpedoes aren't the best right now, so if you do try this thing out, just be aware of that. I wouldn't expect more than half of them to hit, but that'll be fixed in the future, and this will be useful for its reasonable payload amount in a small package. Okay, then over on the right here we have the C8X Pices. So this is just a variant of the Pices that comes with all of its weapons hardpoints filled by default and a slightly different paint job, but this is a perfect pairing with the Carrack. It fits perfectly in its snub bay, but this ship has a quantum drive and everything, and it's pretty capable for how small it is, and it even has space for 3 people on board. So yeah, if you plan on checking out the Carrack, you might want to rent this along with it too, because it's perfect to put in that small hangar. Alright, and then just behind the Pices on the right over here, we have the Hawk. So the Hawk is a very interesting ship. It has a ton of weapons hardpoints. I believe it has 6 of them in total. They're all pretty small, but when you have 6 weapons, it doesn't really matter what size they are, because that's still going to be a lot for a fighter. It also, over on the rear, has a prisoner seat. So this will be useful for bounty hunting at some point. You can kind of see it in there. For whatever reason, my helmet flashlight isn't working. And along with the EMP, this makes it a great ship for capturing targets and potentially taking them to drop-off points in the future when that gameplay comes into the game eventually. And for now, it's a pretty decent fighter with that EMP and weapon hardpoint combo. Alright, and then the last ship over on the right here is the very interesting looking Terrapin. I think that angle from the bottom doesn't really do it much justice, but looking at it from the top, you can see that large scanning dish and the thrusters, which rotate from VTOL to their normal configuration. And this is a very interesting ship. For now, it doesn't have too much gameplay, but when scanning comes online, this thing is going to have a very powerful scanner, especially for a single-person craft like this. And you'll probably be able to use this ship to gain a lot of information and monitor areas very effectively. It's also said to be quite well armored for its size, so that could be useful if you ever get found while you're out scanning. Alright, and then last for this main area, but definitely not least, is the Carrack. So the Carrack is just a really great overall ship, and even though right now not all of its functionality is in game, like some of the jump point scanning and the drones that are supposed to be available to use in it, it still has a ton of features with this vehicle bay, a small hangar up top, a med bay, nearly 500 SCU of cargo, 2 large shields making it very sturdy in combat, along with a decent complement of turrets. So yeah, if you're going to try out one ship today, I'd say try out this one. It's one of the most polished ships in the game, and it's pretty fun to fly around in. Alright, and then moving on to the hall over to the right here, we can see the rest of the ships that Anvil has today. Alright, so in this room we have a good assortment of Hornets, as well as the Valkyrie and the Hurricane. So unfortunately, this one is not going to be one that you're able to try out, but that's because this is the military variant of the F7 Hornet, and you can see there it says F7A. You can also see it has larger weapons than the normal Hornet would have, so I believe these are size 4s on the wings. Those would normally be size 3s. Those look to be dual size 3s up top, and then this is probably dual size 2s on the nose. All of these are slightly larger than the normal Hornet, and that's just because this is the military version. So you'll probably be able to use this one in Squadron 42, but getting one in the persistent universe is going to be pretty difficult. But here we have one that you actually can try. So this is the F7C Hornet, and I believe this is just the base model. So this one's not all that great in its stock form, since it only has 2 out of the potential 4 hardpoints filled if you swap out that middle storage box and put a weapon on the nose. So unfortunately the rental one isn't going to give you that great of an experience since you can't really modify the loadout. But as a ship, if you do fill out those hard points, it is a pretty solid fighter, especially now that its shield holes are fixed. Still not as great as some of the light fighters, just because it lacks mobility compared to them, but for PvE missions it dishes out a ton of damage. Alright, and then in the middle here we have a very popular ship. This is the Valkyrie. It's a very capable dropship. As I walk around it, you'll see a ton of turrets. So those are the pilot controlled weapons, but there's a man turret on the bottom there. There's one up top that you can't really see, and some remote turrets on the sides. But it also has these sliding side doors for troops to board the ship or get out, and there's also these turrets along the side to provide cover fire as they do that. And then in the back you can see this pretty spacious area for vehicles or cargo. But yeah, in terms of firepower and troop and vehicle carrying ability, this is one of the most capable dropships in the game, and it's pretty cool to fly around. Alright, and then over here we have another ship that you unfortunately won't be able to try out. So this is the F8 Lighting. It's the same ship as the red ones that they have rotating around in those halls along the way to the expo, but this one just doesn't have the special livery from the 999s. Alright, and then the last ship we're going to look at today is this Hurricane here. This is a pretty cool ship. It's a solid ship even if you only have one person in it, but it really comes into its own if you have the turret operator in there as well, with 4 size 3s on that turret. So you have a lot of firepower in a very compact package. And if you're thinking about picking up the Scorpius, you might want to try out this ship because it's going to be a very similar experience. Alright, and then like I said, downstairs there's not any hollows today. But we do have over here on the right side of this area one ground vehicle, and this is the Ballista, a very capable anti-aircraft vehicle. So you can see it carries a large complement of missiles of varying sizes that can be used to pretty effectively lock down an area from other ships. And it also has a pretty large turret up top, and yeah, it's just an overall pretty capable combat vehicle. Unfortunately today, if you don't happen to own a C2 or M2 Hercules or 890 Jump, there's no vehicles around that can carry this thing other than that since it is so large. But you can go ahead and pull it out at an outpost, which is what I'd recommend, because then you can just drive it a couple hundred meters away from the outpost and you'll be out of the armistice zone and you'll be able to shoot at things, maybe blow up your own ship if you want to. But yeah, this thing will be very useful once ground vehicles are needed, and it'll be very good at locking down an area from small up to even pretty large air vehicles. Alright, so that's all I have for today. Like I said, the Carrack is definitely a cool ship to check out if you just want to check out one thing, but again, most of Anvil's fighters are pretty fun, and they have some really unique ships like the Hawk over there and the Terrapin, which isn't a fighter, but still fun to fly around in. Now I want to give a special thanks to my members, the Pear Effect, Starlit Domina, and Great Watch 93. Thank you guys very much for supporting the channel, and if any of you want to support the channel, you can do that by hitting the like and subscribe button, which I really appreciate, or you can really help me out by becoming a member with the join button. So I hope you guys are enjoying the expo, as we're getting towards the end of that, and thanks for watching.